Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote. Hello, welcome back to Across the Park podcast. My name is Ian Mills. We've had a little hiatus for a week or two, bit of a break. It is Easter, so we hope you've all enjoyed the half-term break as much as we have and haven't. It's tough, isn't it, with kids? But welcome back, and thank you for clicking the thumbnail. You've probably clicked it because you know who our guest is. It is my friend, and we're going to have to start paying her. She keeps coming on, kind of to give her an opinion. Thank you so much. Mel Harvey, thanks for coming back on. How are you?
Really good to be here, feeling good, feeling quite relaxed about the rest of the season. It's very unusual at this time of the year for us, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. It feels it's been a few seasons now before we've actually been able to just relax and watch other people fight it out.
Mm-hmm. Nice to go into the Easter weekend with no drama.
Yes.
Just want to win all the rest of our games now, don't we? And just finish the season at Goodison in style.
Yeah, and you're here to talk about something very important to you, and we hope that Evertonians can help out as well. The Merseyside Tartan Army. Now, you described them to me as a gang of people who like to fundraise as much as they do watch Scotland. Can you give us a little bit about what this is and who they are?
Yeah, so I lived in Glasgow for a long time, and when I first moved up there, I lived near Hampden, started going to watch Scotland. It was easier to get Scotland tickets than Celtic or Rangers. So, and just fell in love with it. Tartan Army, great fun. It's a little bit like being an Everton fan. It's like the football's not brilliant, but the banter and the trips are brilliant. So, and my husband's a huge Scotland fan, so picked it up from there. And I was really lucky enough to be able to go to the Euros last year, which was brilliant fun. But Scotland fans, the Tartan Army, have a real tradition of fundraising. So we got involved with an organisation called Merseyside Tartan Army a couple of years ago. And basically just a bunch of exiled Scots or Scotland fans living in the Merseyside area. So we get together sort of every month to 6 weeks in Dr. Duncan's. We have a couple of drinks and we come up with some ideas to raise some money for local charities and also for a couple of charities that are closely associated with the Tartan Army. So this year we're raising funds for Clatterbridge Cancer Charity, for Clare House, for the Doddy Weir Appeal and for the Sunshine Appeal. And on the 3rd of May, we will be doing a kilt walk, which is another Tartan Army tradition.
Right.
So I will have my kilt on. I have one kilt that I'd made for me when I lived in Scotland. And we'll be walking from Clare House in West Derby to Goodison Park. And then we'll be doing a Goodison bucket collection outside Goodison. We'll also be popping into the Winslow as well. So just really appeal for anyone who's going to be at the match that day or who sees us en route to drop a quid in the bucket and help Clatterbridge Cancer Charity, Clare House, the Doddy Weir Appeal and the Sunshine Appeal, but two really good local charities there.
Yeah.
Clatterbridge Cancer Charity is an amazing charity, raising money for the 1 in 2 people in Liverpool who will get cancer.
Wow.
So it's a really frightening statistic, but we do some amazing work to help those people. We fund research, we fund bits of kit, we fund really nice things like lunches for our teenage patients and also to help create a nice environment in the hospital with arts and outdoor areas and things. So if you see us before the match, I will obviously be going to the match, as will one of our other members. One of our other members is also a Blue. Please, if you can, I know times are really tough at the moment, but if you can drop a quid in the bucket before the match, that would be amazing. You can't miss us. There'll be a lot of kilts. Yeah.
That's amazing. We'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of the show, and we'll plug how maybe you can help. But I think it's amazing. I described when we've done a little bit for Zoe's place, and we're part of Alfie's squad. Some charities and some places that assist people, you almost never want to need them, but when you do, they've got to be there, and it's important to help. I think Zoe's place was a big one for me, and you talk about Clare House there. Clare House resonates more to me because I'm the owner of 2 little people, and I hope I never need her. I hope I never need Clare House, for instance, but good Lord, if I ever do, they've got to be in a position to help. And it's important that people like me and people like Evertonians who are watching it, we have got a quid. We chuck it in.
Yeah, I mean, people in Liverpool are really, really generous. I think we're probably the most, or one of the most generous cities in the UK when it comes to charitable giving. And we do need charities. And as you say, there's a lot of really important charities in Liverpool, so it's really hard for everybody to keep going. But we just ask people, if you can, it really does help. And as I say, 1 in 2 people in our area will get cancer.
Wow.
So Clatterbridge are really just trying to care for those people and also drive forward research into new treatments. So if you do see us, come and say hello. We'll be hanging around in the fan zone, we'll be in the Winslow, and we'll be in the streets all around Goodison Park. So come and laugh at some guys in kilts. And a girl in a kilt. I think I'm the only woman who'll be doing the kilt walk that day, and particularly the only one who'll be wearing a kilt. But yeah, please just come and say hi and take the mickey out of people in a kilt and give us a quid while you're at it.
Amazing. Look, we're going to reroute back to that at the end of the show. We'll talk about, of course, the Mighty Blues, and we are the Mighty Blues. It's very different. I got you one in October. I think it was post the victory at Ipswich, which you attended. But I think at that stage in the season, there was still an air of caution. We did beat Ipswich, I remember, but it was sort of like there was a level. I think most Premier League teams over the years now have proved there was a level. So we still were quite cautious on the podcast. I don't feel as cautious now. I want to start with the game we've just seen, the Nottingham Forest game, before we get into the bigger picture. I think that was that summarises the improvements that we've made in the last few weeks, that a team who was sitting third in the Premier League, we went and won there. Mm-hmm. I know you never went to the Forest game.
Sadly not,
but we've seen it. And what were your impressions of that performance, first and foremost?
I think generally the team's playing with a lot more confidence, and just seemed to be able to find that extra 10%, which was really, really lacking. I should say the last time we were in was just after Ipswich. But if you think about it, we took 3 points off Forest. Mm-hmm. We ran Liverpool pretty close in the derby. Yep. We are competing a lot better. I think the team's playing with a lot more freedom, a lot more confidence, and players are actually playing to the best of their ability. And I felt there was times in this season, times in the last few seasons, but particularly there was a stage in this season players really weren't fulfilling the ability that they've got for one reason or another. And I felt like, obviously, we've got a couple of people who've come back in. Great pass from McNeil for the goal. Yeah. So he's been missing. So a few things are maybe coming together at the right time. But I would say the sort of freedom and confidence and just performing to the best of their ability. You're seeing that. I was following the game on social media on Saturday, and everyone was saying, gets Corey off, and then he goes and scores. Yeah. But it just shows you the quality of a pass. The quality of a really good pass like that can make all the difference. And what a great confidence boost that is going to the team, as you say, that's third in the league and beating them. And the resilience to keep going. That's the resilience to keep going till the 95th minute, the 94th minute. We had a chat before we started about the derby, and it's just that keep and go and play until the 94th, 95th, 98th minute, just having that resilience and that belief that there could still be something to be got out of a game. And that is 100% down to the manager. It's
an area that we were very good at in his first spell, if you recall. There's a number of goals, I think, especially in the season we finished fourth. There was a number of last-minute winners with a small squad, and we pushed the limit. I always remember the goal when James McFadden scored. We flipped it over someone's head, and that was in the 94th minute. There was always late goals and late winners and late drama, and I think it's a very good point you've made. He seems to be getting that extra bit of mileage out the team. To be fair to the previous manager, fitness-wise, I think they were left in a good state. I think the previous manager was big on Dyche fit and being fit, and I think fitness-wise they were in a good position. And the previous manager came out and said on TalkSport that he felt they needed a new voice. Boy, you can see they've got one, and it does look a little bit almost night and day.
Yeah, I don't think Premier League footballers should be Premier League footballers if they're not fit. They should be able to play to the however many minutes. But I think it's the mental resilience that I'm seeing a difference in, and the belief that there's still something to be got out of this game. Mm-hmm. And there's a belief that they still can get something out of every game. I don't think they're going into games now thinking, oh, well, we'll just see what happens, which you've kind of felt like that a little bit at games, that middle part of the season. Whereas now you just feel like there is definitely a belief that they can go and get something against anybody. They don't seem, we'll see what happens against City. Obviously, that could be a different kettle of fish, but they're so inconsistent this season. You don't know what you're going to get, really, do you? No. But no, I definitely think he and his staff have done something that just, you talk about a new manager bounce. Well, that's gone now. He's not new anymore. Yeah. So it's not a new manager bounce. It's a new voice. You don't know. There might just be that little bit of extra work he's doing. I know he's big on going back over things and looking at things again and analysing. He's really big on analysing things, I believe. So if that's what's working, that could be it. Just giving them a belief. He's got an air of confidence. They should, as players, they should be looking at him as somebody. He won a European trophy recently. So they should be looking at him and thinking, I can learn something from this guy. Yeah. There's something there that I can learn from him that maybe I couldn't learn from the previous manager. Whatever it is, it's working. You know, I wasn't totally convinced about him coming back because I always think when people go back, it's not always the right thing. So I'll be the first to admit, I wasn't saying, oh, this is brilliant, this is the appointment I really wanted, this is going to be great. I didn't really feel like that. I was a bit nervous about it, but I'm glad I've been proved wrong.
Do you know what? I was exactly the same when it was very, very quickly apparent that it was going to be David Moyes, which is great because you want to act quick. You don't want a caretaker for 2 games, and you want to act quick and you want to get the new voice in. I was the same as you. I was thinking, yes, at West Ham he's done a good job. Yeah, and yes, I would like that European trophy that they had, and I would like to be higher up the table. But is he? And I'm so glad at this point in time to have egg on face. When you're like that, you're almost saying, put egg on my face.
No, I'm delighted. I'm absolutely delighted. You know, we're still not going to have a great finishing position in the league. Yeah. We're still not going to be getting into Europe. We're still going to be regarded by everybody else as, oh, it's just Everton. But we feel different about it. The team feels different about it. I don't think we were going to go down anyway, but everything just feels, because the bottom 3 is so awful. Yes. But everyone just feels a lot happier, a lot lighter going to the game, a lot more confident. It's just more enjoyable.
I almost feel, and again, I do want to be careful because of clickbait and how things be perceived. So, and I don't want to be disrespectful to the previous manager, I really don't, but I almost feel like in the stands and on the pitch, standards have gone up a little bit. I feel like the managers came in and we're Everton Football Club. There are moments we should puff our chest out, and the moments where we should look at our history and say, you know, 15 we won the most league titles. There's a European trophy in there, and we should embrace it. And we should show the current crop, we should show the current team and the young generation that we're not a mid-table team. And again, I don't want to be too disrespectful, but I don't feel like we had those standards with the previous few managers, really. Carlo to the exception. I think a few of them came in and said, we're okay being mid-table. And I know Neville Southall came out recently and had an interview, didn't he? And I want to ask you on that. And he was maybe more to my side than even I am. And he was like, we should be looking to win the league. And we're not there. But I do feel like in a weird way, does that make sense? I think standards have been raised.
Standards have dropped so far. I remember 5 or 6 years ago, possibly even longer ago than that, a guy I was working with who was from Yorkshire, and he couldn't understand why I was so annoyed at what was going on. And he was a bit like, well, what do you expect? It's just Everton. And I remember being so angry and then thinking, God, is that what people think? Standards have dropped so low that we accept that. Sean Dyche would have been quite happy for us to have been in another relegation scrap. That would suit him, because then it would be, well, I was the manager that kept them up 2 seasons, you know, and that is not right. That's not what should be happening at Everton Football Club. Our standards should be much, much higher than that, especially going into that new stadium. We've really got to put all that mediocrity of the last few years behind us and say, now is a turning point. We really need to draw a line in the sand and say, we really need to push on from this now. We should be aiming for European places and higher. We need to start rebuilding, and we need to stop accepting the mediocrity that we've been served up for the last 10, 15, however many years. It's not good enough.
My generation, my little man is in the studio today, and hopefully his little girl as they get older. A funny story, when we played Manchester United at Old Trafford, And I said to Noah, I said, we're going to watch it in Daddy's. It's going to be a tough game. And he couldn't grasp why it was a tough game. And I was like, it's Man United. And then it clicked to me, he's only seen the last 2 or 3 years of Man United. I don't want him to see the only 2 or 3 years of Everton and go to school and go to college and form his own family of Evertonians, thinking that we just stay up. So standards have got to be dragged up, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to talk about Man United. They're not my team. But what's happened there is what happened to us several more years ago. We went from being league winners, cup winners, playing in Europe to where we are now, and they need to be really careful, because if they're not careful, the same thing's going to happen to them to them that's happened to us. You know, in 1988, we would never ever have considered in a million years that we would be accepting mid-table mediocrity, being in relegation scraps, seeing it as a good thing that we've stayed up.
One more trophy.
You just cannot. The mindset from then to now is incredible, and if they're not careful, they could end up in the same way. And that's unthinkable to us, to think that that could happen to Man United. It was unthinkable to us at that period in time. When I didn't go to Rotterdam, basically my dad turned around to me and went, you're not going, you're too young, you've got school, it's not happening. Don't worry, you'll be going again in another couple of seasons. And that's how long we've waited now. I know there was a European ban came in and that kind of changed things. However, at that point, we never, ever dreamed in a million years that just wasn't what was going to keep happening. We looked at Liverpool and we thought, we're just going to be like them now. It's just going to be the same. We're just going to keep on this roll of success because the best players are going to want to come here. The best managers are going to want to come here. And that success will breed success. Somewhere along the line, we let those standards drop. And that's the result, is where we are now. And that's, Man United fans must be looking and thinking, that could happen to us. This is a line in the sand moment now. That new stadium is the perfect opportunity for us to have a reset. And we've got ambitious professional owners now who aren't just silly billionaires who are going to come in and blow a load of money on rubbish players who aren't good enough. Standards need to be set. And whether it's this manager or another manager who comes in, I'm not sentimental about it. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less if this whole squad changed. I know you can't do that now because you're not allowed to spend that kind of money. But I couldn't care less. There's no sentiment for me. It's a line in the sand. It needs to change. It's David Moyes who takes us on to do that. Brilliant. If it isn't David Moyes, so be it. If it's somebody else, it needs to be the right people, the right players, and we really need to stop accepting what we've put up with for the last however many years. It's not good enough.
I almost think that should be the team talk for the first game. That starts next season. That's brilliant. I'm honestly amazed listening to that. And I can, bit of the hairs on the. You're right. You're absolutely right. And
we've just accepted it for too long.
The standards of your family in 1985 was, we'll do this again. An Evertonian family, and now my standards with my family are like, let's stay up. And that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Yeah. It is ridiculous. And we've got a moment now. We've got an opportunity. We're going to be in a position where we can spend money because we're going to be bringing the money in. We're not going to be breaking rules. So we really need to do it properly. And I really hope that's what happens.
Do you think that side of the manager's job is not difficult? I'd say maybe it's important that he's got to manage the fan base, because I've already seen screen grabs on X that since David Moyes came back was 6th in the form table. There's going to have to be a turnover of players because we have 13 out of contract, including the ones on loan, the Holgate and the Morpays, but it's still 13. So there has to be a turnaround, almost a new squad or half a new squad.
Oh God, no, absolutely.
A new stadium. And I can only say, as a supporter, I'd never class anyone else, I want to run sometimes before I can walk. And I've got to be managed as a fan. So David Moyes has to get the balance right for me, where he does puff his chest out and says, we're Everton. Not as far as Neville Southall has recently, but he also has to not go as far as Sean Dyche and manage expectations and say, we're not going to win the league really, but we'll try and have a good season in a different way, and I'll try and bring something else to the table. Is that important that he manages the fans like that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think Newcastle's a really good example. When you look at what's gone on there over the last years, they had a similar situation that money came into the club, not the type of money I personally would have wanted to have come into Everton, thank goodness, but money came into the club. So they were in a position where they could spend. They weren't in a position where they could go and have a big spending spree, because you're not allowed to do that anymore. They've already got a stadium that clearly brings in a huge amount of revenue, so they can balance that out. And they've gone about the business. I hate to say it because I know we've got this rivalry that's occurred
Somehow.
in Newcastle now, and I'm all that, I'm there for it. But I have to take my hat off to the job that's being done there. It's this gradual improving players, bringing better players in, setting higher standards. They've won a trophy now, finally. And you can just see that kind of, not that slow a build, but a slowish build over a couple of seasons. As long as we can see that there is a plan in place, there's an ambition, it's being done properly. I think that they're a pretty good example of what could happen now. We're in a better position to be able to spend money. And that for me would be good. I'd love a cup run. I'd love a trip to Wembley.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? Wouldn't it be great? Get to take your boy, get to take your daughter. You know, you get that feel-good factor. That feel-good factor, cup run gives you that. It gives you a nice feel-good factor. It runs throughout the fans. It runs throughout the squads. Gets you on the telly. It gets you in front of people. Gets people believing in Everton Football Club again. So I think that's sort of slow, not too slow, but slowish build over a couple of seasons. Some good side. We do really need to turn that squad over. It's very poor. But I think that would be good. That's what I'm hoping for. And if it's David Moyes that does it, brilliant. If it's David Moyes, if it's somebody else who does it, I'm not sentimental. I just want the right person.
That's fair. I've got to ask you about the Neville Southall interview online. In this day and age, there's snippets in your 30 seconds here, but the whole thing is on YouTube. And he'd done an interview with a panel of Evertonians, and he spoke about standards, but he spoke about how Everton players should come back in pre-season and want to win the league, and that's great, but it's impossible. He spoke about Jordan Pickford's maybe not being as good as we think, and he's a great guy because I've met him and we've had him on the show, and he can be quite controversial. Did you watch that smile and laughing because you know Neville?
Neville's a mate. We sometimes exchange WhatsApp messages after matches, and I'm always keen to ask him about the performance of the goalkeeper. Jordan Pickford's a brilliant shot stopper. He pulls off some great saves, and he's pulled off some saves that helped keep us in the league. But he has also made mistakes that have cost us goals, that could have put us in positions that have not put us in great positions to could have ended up, we lost games or we drew games that we could have won. He makes some really rash decisions. You see some of the things he does in games and you just go, oh my God, what's he doing? And then 10 minutes later, he'll pull off a great save. So there's definitely two sides to his game. Whether the rashness of his game is something that somebody could improve on if he had better coaching, I don't know. Or maybe that's just him and that's never going to change. Are goalkeepers as good now as they were? Possibly not. They get a hell of a lot more protection than they did in the days when Neville was playing. I think if Jordan Pickford was to learn anything from what Neville said, it's to always try and keep improving. So I think Neville Southall is entitled to say whatever he wants. He's brave enough to say it. I don't agree with some of the things that have been written about him, saying that he just wants to stay relevant. Neville couldn't care less about that. He got asked a question, he answered it honestly, which is all you ever really want of someone, really, isn't it? He doesn't care if he never gets allowed back into Goodison ever again. He couldn't care less. He just will talk what he thinks is his truth, and that's his opinion. And I really admire that about him. And as I say, he's a friend and he's a loyal person who I've got a huge amount of time for. But I think if Jordan Pickford has watched it or read it or cares, and he should care, maybe he might go, oh, actually, maybe there's something for me to learn from that, and maybe I could get a bit better, and maybe I should be staying back every day and having the under 16s or under 18s or whatever they are taking shots at me, because that's what Neville Southall did every day. He worked and he worked and he worked and he worked, and he was his own biggest critic. That day when he came out and he sat leaning against the post, he was upset about everything, not just the manager, who I know very well, the team, or anything else. He was annoyed at himself, and that wasn't him sulking. That was him just saying, I'm so annoyed at what's going on here. I'm as much to blame for that as anyone else. So I think, maybe some people would say he went too far with what he said, but again, it just takes us back to he just doesn't think the standards are good enough. and he's entitled to that opinion.
Absolutely. We've said the same. We spent the show saying the same thing, and yeah, I think you're spot on. You've mentioned the manager in 1990. For anyone living under a grave or a rock, it's your legendary father, Mr. Colin Harvey. Whenever we have you on, we have lots of people asking about him and stuff, and we spoke off air. You've said he's not really one for the limelight as such, but the 1878 done an unbelievable banner for him.
Well,
what did he make of it?
So it was the 1878s did, but also Joe from Gladys Street 1938 made the actual birthday. So it was Dad's 80th birthday in November. And I bumped into Joe before a game previously. And he just said, oh, can I show you something? And he showed me some designs that he'd started on his phone. And he said, I just wanted to check with you first that you were happy with it. And I said, we'd be absolutely delighted. I said, I'll show it to him. We're absolutely delighted with it. So he finished it and asked if Dad would be going to the game. And I said, probably not. And he said, well, would I ask the club if we could maybe unfurl it in the Gladys Street the day before the game, and he could come and see it. And then the 1878s had also done the other banner with the picture of him with the damaged boots on. Yeah. So they were in setting up, so they got that one out as well. And myself, my mum, Dad, it was a real family outing, my sister and my nephew Charlie, who was on an inset day from school. We went down to Goodison to see it, and it was really special because obviously there wasn't many people about. They put the big banner out, they put the smaller one out. Charlie had his picture taken holding it, and it was wonderful. So I wanted to say a huge thank you to both those groups, and particularly to Joe, the artist, and to all the 1878s as well for everything that they did. It was a very special moment. It could possibly be the last time that Dad goes to Goodison Park in its current format. So it was really nice to do that, and it was really special of them to do that. And I've been and helped the 1878s do a couple of their flag displays before the games over the last month. And I've not ended up with one of his flag shirt, but I keep trying.
We'll try and write that wrong, won't we?
I had Peter Reid last time. That wasn't bad. I think I had Alec Young the time before. So, but no, really, really wonderful that fans of these younger generations still remember him, and it's very humbling.
It was amazing to see. It was amazing to see from the park and the visual when I went there and seeing it. I was like, wow, there's probably people here who appreciate that so much, who watched your father and watched him manage the great Everton team, coach the great Everton team. We're going to get in some Q&A, and then we're going to let you go because it's really thankful for your time coming back into the studio. Pick 4 questions. So we've got Freddie, who, according to this message, is a little boy. I'm not too sure how old, but he said, have you ever met David Moyes? What's he like?
Do you know what? I haven't. When he was Everton manager, I think it was possibly when I was living in Glasgow, so I didn't get to as many games. I know Dad's met him a few times. I think he bumped into him on a flight home. Dad was working for Bolton, I think, at the time. They bumped into each other. They'd both been abroad watching a player. I don't know if it was the same player. I don't know whether they were in for the same player. And they ended up on the same flight home, and I think Dad ended up giving him a lift home, and they had a good chat. So no, I've never met him, but I'd like to. I think he's a really, clearly a really, really interesting guy, a really good football brain, and he must have some great stories to tell. Well, if you speak to him, get him on here. We'll interview him together, right? That'd be a good one. Really good. That'd be really good. Another one we had, and I said to you off air, we had a private message on Twitter from someone who set the account up today with no followers. So I think they're asking this on behalf of an older Evertonian who's not on social. It's a really great question, a great message. What's the best piece of Everton memorabilia that you own? And Susan on Twitter said, mine is passed down from my grandmother. She owns a cafe on City Road, and I've now got the cafe menu she got signed by Dixie Dean, Billy Cook and Jimmy Steen, who were part of the 1930s Everton team. They popped into the cafe for a cup of tea and some toast before placing some bets in a betting shop next door. It's amazing. What a brilliant story. What an absolutely brilliant story. I don't really think I can beat that. That's amazing. It's the stuff that you look around the house or in boxes and you go, wow, I'm so proud to have that. I mean, I've got one thing that's real pride of place in our house is I've got a picture of the Holy Trinity signed by all 3 men, which is obviously really special because they were really good friends of my dad's, and they're really sadly no longer with us.
You're
So
behind one now. There's
to
one
have,
as well.
to have it signed by all three is really special. I have got something really, really special. I've actually been in discussion with the club about loaning some stuff to them to put on display in the new stadium. So really hope that's going to come to fruition. There will be there's going to be a Trinity Lounge in the new stadium. And we're just having discussions at the moment about possibly some stuff going on loan to the club. But my absolute favourite thing, and I only revealed to the rest of the family that I've got this a few months.
Okay, sneaky.
So after the 1966 FA Cup final, the whole team were all given watches that were engraved by the club. They were given watches that were engraved to say FA Cup winners 1966. So obviously that's the really famous game when Everton came back from 2-0 down to beat Sheffield Wednesday. And all the team got, so my dad gave his watch to his dad.
Okay.
So my granddad Harvey was a huge Evertonian. He took my dad and my Uncle Brian to all the matches. Well, he used to leave them in the boys' pen and he used to go and go to the Sure, that was a good thing, really. But Granddad and I went to all the away games together in the 80s with his friend Norman, and he gave me the watch.
Amazing.
And I never told anybody until a couple of months ago. And my dad was like, that's where it went. So, yeah, but that if all goes to plan, that'll go on display in the new grounds.
That's amazing.
On loan from us to them, because for me the most important thing is to keep the legacy of that era alive, because when we do become really successful again, which we will, it's still going to be nice for people to know that there was a hugely successful and brilliant team in the late 60s and early 70s. So, but yeah, I'd say that watch is my prized possession.
Wow, it's amazing.
They're all locked away in a safety deposit box. They're not in the house.
Don't go looking for them anymore.
They're not in the house. I'm so not in the house.
You'll have to send me some photos. I geek out on stuff like that, memorabilia, and I think that was great. And what you said there, amazing. Colin on Instagram, he said, what work away from the football side would you like to see the Friedkins targets? Now Collins follows up with saying that he's had friends who've used the food banks and they help the homeless schemes, and he'd like some more light shed by Everton on that. That's something you'd maybe agree with? Yeah,
absolutely. I'm a trustee of fan support and food banks, and massive friends with Dave and Robbie and Ian Byrne who formed that organisation, and Paul. And my husband, who's a Red, he's also a trustee. So we're really massively involved in that, and they do amazing work. They obviously do match day collections, so please take a tin every time you go to the match, and they run food pantries across the city. I'd really like to see the Friedkins step in and help them with that. It's a grassroots organisation that started with a wheelie bin outside the Winslow, and it's become an organisation that feeds hundreds of families in our city every week. And I would really like to see fan support and food banks supported more. It's spread across the whole country now and into Scotland and Northern Ireland as well. There's football clubs all over the United Kingdom collecting and distributing food. It's not charity, it's solidarity. It's basically, it's there for people like the person who's asked the questions, friends. So I'd really like to see the new organisation, the new owners of the club become very much more involved in that and back that initiative, because it's wonderful.
I always see Dave Kelly collecting the food banks just by the Dixie Dean statue on a match day, and I always see David Fahey distributing it out on Walton Road as well, so know it's going, and you see the people, and I think I've seen David say that you can get like meat, veg and some fruit for a couple of quid at a big bag.
Yeah, you become a member. So you register and you become a member, and you pay a weekly subs, which is a very small amount, and then you get £17-20 worth of food, and it isn't just all tinned and packet food. There is fresh food there as well. They have facilities to store food, so it's just a wonderful initiative, and it grew from three football fans collecting food in a wheelie bin to become this huge operation that's now feeding hundreds of families. And you can help just by dropping off a bit of food before the match. What could be easier?
Yeah, exactly. And we've just mentioned there that Goodison for each home game. The final question that we've got is about Goodison. Lee on Twitter has asked, You ask Mel if she's enjoying going to games without the pressure to win, which sounds strange, really, because you want to win every game. But I've got from the message, these aren't must-wins. He's actually said the Southampton game at Goodison could have been overshadowed by being potentially disastrous. So you're enjoying that not being hanging over our heads, going to Goodison?
Yeah, I remember there was a game, must have been around Christmas time, and my husband basically saying to me, "Are you still here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just about to go. I think I'll just get the next train," And it was that feeling of not looking forward to it. And really for me, it had become about going to the food bank, seeing my friends there, maybe having a pint with my cousin before the match, and not really actually looking forward to the football. Whereas now there's a much lighter feeling about going. It's become fun again.
Zedcast feels louder.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Everything, the whole thing. And you know what? I really take my hat off to the 1878 as well. The atmosphere they've created. I've helped them out a couple of times and I've really, really enjoyed it. And it's lovely to see. And it's a great, that's brilliant. You meet loads of people. I met a load of Everton fans who were over from America at one game who were helping out with the flag displays. And the atmosphere they've created in the stadium, and on days when it's not being great, I really take my hat off to them. But yeah, going to Goodison at the moment is become joyful again, especially in the sunshine recently.
I know the Arsenal game and Man United games were glorious, weren't they?
It's been great. Good. But I think that just matches the whole mood of the place at the moment. And yeah, there's just that pressure's not there. I mean, the last few seasons around about this time, I was barely sleeping. It was awful.
100%, yeah.
But it's feeling a lot better, isn't it? Yeah, much more fun.
And like Lee said there, I got the shivers when I read this message before, where he mentions there the Southampton game.
Could have been awful.
Could have been disastrous. Wow, I've never thought of that.
Could have been awful.
What do you do in that situation? You just, oh God. So that being off the table, I'm the same as you. It feels good.
Yeah, it's much more fun.
Yeah. Mel, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
For coming on. I want to plug one more time the Merseyside Tartan Army before the Ipswich game, which is Saturday, the May 3rd. We're going to walk from Clare House over. Is that over the water, Clare House?
We're going from the West Derby.
West Derby one.
Well, not that good.
I was going to say that's going to be some walk to Goodison Park. When you arrive, very visible in kilts.
Yeah, men in kilts.
We can help out. We can have the 4 charities I've got down, the 4 places that you are helping are the Doddy Weir Foundation, the Sunshine Appeal, Clare House and Clatterbridge Cancer. So if that relates to anybody who is listening, please come down to Goodison and help out. If it doesn't, still please come down. Like I said at the start of the show, you never know when we might need them. But in a weird way, are you looking forward to the walk? Are you looking forward to getting down and helping them? Yeah,
it's great. I mean, it's a great bunch of guys. We have a really good laugh. The banter's really good. It's good fun. It'll be fun. We did it last year. We walked from Alder Hay last year. And it's just quite interesting seeing people's faces when they see 12 people walking down the road with kilts on. So it's really good fun. And I say that they're a lovely group and people are so generous. We did the Clatterbridge Cancer Charity night walk. Well, I didn't because I was working on the walk, but the guys did the walk that night. And again, the fact they all turned up with their kilts on, everyone loves that. It's good fun. And they're just really nice people who are just trying to do really, really good things to help local charities in our city. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it doesn't rain.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice day. We've just Everton's it by saying it was nice with the weather for the Arsenal United game. So,
fingers crossed. Let's
hope it is. We're going to put over on our socials, which is @AcrossTheParkPC over on Instagram and Twitter, or X as they call it now. Show my age. We're going to put all the information again. Hopefully, Mel, you can share a bit of a location of Goodison where you're going to end up close to the time and we can let people know.
Yeah, we're going to meet there will be hopefully going to get to the Dixie Dean statue at 12:30. We've got some more volunteers meeting us there. We're going to be in the Winslow at some point. They've very kindly said that we can come in and collect in there. And we'll just be hanging about outside the ground, so you won't be able to miss us.
No, and the 4 places we spoke about there, that they rely on support, and it's a brilliant thing that you and the guys are doing. So thank you from me. And thank you again for coming on Across the Park. I think hopefully once you've been in Bramley-Moore next year in the Trinity Lounge, we can get you back on and talk about that with us. All right?
That'd be amazing.
Thank you so much. Guys, thanks so much for watching this episode. We've got a bit deep diving into Everton's 24-25 season there. As you can see, we're smiling. We're almost in May and we're smiling. What the hell's going on? It feels very, very strange, but really nice podcast. And again, please help out. We spoke about there in depth, a walk for the 4 charities involved, the 4 places that needs our assistance on the Saturday, the 3rd of May. We're going to put some more details on. Thanks to the amazing Pod Cafe Studios. Thanks to our sponsors, Globe Gas and Heating. We are a big part of Alfie's squad as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy the Easter eggs. Up the toffees.